Head high, chest up, and catch that brain, cause beauty is my name.
Alright y'all, so for phase 1 of how to make a wig, you're going to need some developer, either 30 or 40, BW2 bleach, the frontal itself, a mixing bowl, aluminum foil, and plastic utensils. You're going to cut a piece of aluminum foil about as long as your frontal will be. Then you're going to want to lay your frontal face up and comb back those hairs. If they don't want to stay back and they're flyaways, spritz it with water and comb them back. Because if the bleach somehow seeps through, then you're going to have blonde front hairs and nobody wants that. So after that's done, flip the frontal over and then you're going to take your BW2 powder bleach. I took about, I think, a scoop and a half, maybe 2 full scoops. And then I poured my developer. I kind of just eyeball it. I know not to pour a lot of developer because you want a very thick consistency, the complete opposite of anything liquidy, or it will seep through into your hair. So you want it almost like toothpaste, like you can see here. Now you're going to go ahead and apply it to the frontal. I'm using a knife. I know other people use other utensils. I think a knife gives me the best control. And you'll see that I focused on the very front of the frontal first and then worked my way back, just in case I ran out of the mix, because the front of the frontal is the most important part since that's what everybody will see. Now once that's done, I flip the hair over, and as you guys can see right here, the knots are all dark and black. Now doing this method is going to change that, make them not transparent, but make them more natural looking, I guess you can say. So I set a timer for 30 minutes, come back, and as you can see, majority of those knots are gone and it just looks a lot better, a lot more natural. So now stepping into phase 2, we're going to go ahead and wash all that stuff off the frontal. You're going to need a neutralizing shampoo and this purple shampoo. Now when rinsing off the frontal, you're going to go ahead, it doesn't really matter, I don't think what water you use, but you want to rinse all that powder, developer, bleach, whatever you want to call it, off the frontal. Then you're going to take your neutralizing shampoo, and the need for the neutralizing shampoo is to stop the bleaching process. It just makes sure, regardless of you rinsing off that mix, that it stops it completely. Now you can go ahead and rinse it off. It's not a long process. Rinse it all out, and then in a second you're going to see me apply the purple shampoo. Now the purpose of the purple shampoo is to stop any brassiness from occurring or happening, and it just looks like really orangey. You don't want that, so it makes it more of a cooler tone, and you're going to actually leave that for 15 minutes and let it do its thing. After the 15 minutes are up, you can go ahead and rinse it out with water. Now something I personally like to do after using both those shampoos tend to tangle hair in my opinion, so I like to comb out the frontal underneath the water to make sure it's completely detangled, because ain't nobody got time to work with a nappy frontal. Now on to phase 3, you're going to need a dome cap, some scissors, needle and thread, a mannequin head, I'm using a foam one, T-pins, and the frontal itself. Now when it comes to placing your dome cap on the mannequin head, I say to follow these 2 lines that run down the middle of the dome cap. Make sure they align with the very front of your head and the nap area of your head. Now here is just a quick step. It's not really something you have to do, but I make sure that I twist up, braid up, clip away, whatever, my frontal out the way so it doesn't get all messed up during the sewing process or during the gluing process. So yeah, I just clip away the hair. Now you see I'm pointing to the very front of that dome cap. You want your lace frontal hairline to go a ½ inch to a full inch below it. Then you're going to go ahead and pull the frontal backwards and apply a T-pin to secure it onto the dome cap. Now you see this thicker, darker line I'm pointing to? You want that to be your guide basically on how to make sure your frontal lays flat. So I'm going to stick in a T-pin and work my way down. Some people are gifted enough to just use 1 T-pin and it secures the bag, but for me I use about 3 and make sure that edge of the frontal that I pointed to earlier ends at the edge of the dome cap. And you see how flat this turned out? That's how it has to be in order for your frontal not to have any lumps or bumps or whatever in it. So you're going to do the same exact thing to the other side. I am well aware that the frontal isn't really equal, like the other side was further down than this side. I'm just showing you guys how you're supposed to T-pin the hair down prior to sewing it. I went ahead and fixed that off camera though, but you want it to lay that flat. No humps, lumps, nothing in there. Now take your needle and thread. Honestly, I'd suggest taking almost as much thread as you possibly can that's not overwhelming, because you're going to double it. So by that I mean put the thread through the needle and then pull it all the way through. Then you're going to knot the end, so it's like double thread, and I double knot the end too to make sure that ain't going nowhere. So in terms of sewing it down into the frontal, that first T-pin that you use to align the edge with the dome cap, you might have to move up a little bit, and then you're going to stick the needle through the dome cap. Now the thing with this that you have to be very careful with, make sure that you're going through the cloth only and not the elastic part of that dome cap. Otherwise, when the wig is done and you try to put it on, there's going to be absolutely no stretch. So you want to put the needle through the cloth only around that thick band that you see at the bottom of the dome cap. You cannot put the needle through that elastic. But as you see, I just moved up and skipped over the threading that is securing that elastic band. So once you get to the actual cloth, like basically past the elastic band, you can just go ham. It's a very easy process. Just loop it through. Just loop it through, and then when you get to the end, you're going to stick the needle through, and you're going to wrap the thread around the needle 3 times and then pull through, and that's going to leave a very secure knot at the very end of the frontal. And I go ahead and do that twice. Actually, I just make sure everything is super secure, because I'm not going to waste this much time making a wig and then it falls apart. So even after I do those 2 secure knots, I double knot it again. Now, as you can see, it is completely flat. Everything is laying nice and flat. You can tug on the frontal and it is going nowhere. So that is done. Now on to phase 4. You're going to need scissors, hot glue gun, glue sticks, and the bundles. Now this is honestly the easy part. You're going to take the bundle and measure it, okay, from edge of frontal to edge of frontal. Once you've done that, keep your finger where you measured it and then cut it. Now take your hot glue gun and run it right along the area you measured the bundle at. Then just place the track along the hot glue, use a little bit of pressure, and you're done. It's as simple as that. That's why I love this method so much. So same thing, measure out the bundle, go ahead and cut it once you've measured it, then apply the hot glue along where you measured, and then go ahead and place the cut track where the hot glue is. As you work your way up, you're going to start to see a U-shape develop, and when you get to the top, it's going to be a definite U-shape, but nothing changes. You're still measuring out the bundle, cutting the track, applying the hot glue gun, and then placing the track on top of that. Now, there is multiple methods to making a wig. I decided to use a hot glue gun method. In my previous one that I did on how to make a lace frontal wig, I used 30-second wig glue, and then I also know of people sewing each track and flipping it and all that, which takes a much longer time, which is why I prefer to use glue or a hot glue gun. But once the U is small enough, you're going to start making the tracks horizontal of the U shape until you get to the very front of the wig. And now I'm adding my last track. And all done with the wig. I'm gonna go ahead and let all that dry for a couple hours, and after it's done drying, it leads us into phase 5, which is cutting off that unnecessary dome cap that's under the lace. Not even just unnecessary, it's not a lace front wig if you don't cut it. So you're gonna cut a couple of centimeters away from where you sewed the frontal to the dome cap. Just be very careful with this process. Give yourself a decent amount of room, because if you do end up cutting any of that thread, you'll mess up the whole wig. And just real quick, I wanted to show you guys that elastic band is what I'm talking about. You don't want to sew through that cloth. Yes, the elastic band, no.
Alright y'all, so I figured I'd just verbally explain this to you guys now instead of trying to do a voiceover for it, because it might be a little bit complex to understand. So there's a couple of reasons why I suggest trying on the wig after you cut off that excess dome cap. One, to see how it fits, and then two, if you have low edges like me, as in like my edges are right here but the, I guess, hairline right here is a little bit further back, you're gonna have to adjust the lace to fit your head shape or your hairline, because it'll look really bogus. Alright, so let's see. My edge starts right here. I'm not sure if you guys can see that. It starts right here, right? Whereas the front of my hairline is right here. So as you can see, my edges are a little bit lower than the front. So they don't really like customize frontals for people with lower edges like myself. So yeah, this looks pretty ridiculous, but it is covering my edges right now, right? But look at this. That just, no. So I'm gonna have to basically pluck these hairs in the front until the frontal is back to where my front hairline is, if that makes sense. I hope that makes sense, y'all. So yeah, it's a gradual process. So what I'm gonna do is go ahead and make a part, my first part right here in the front, okay? And honestly, if you're a beginner, you don't have to take as much hair as I just took. I've been doing this for a minute, but yeah, clip away the rest of the hair, and then all you're literally gonna do is go section by section and pull it out, literally pull it out. You're going to bald that area because technically it's your forehead if you have low edges. If you don't have low edges like me, you can obviously skip this part. But in my last how to make a lace frontal video, I wasn't really aware of how to do this just yet, and now I've been wearing wigs for like a year or so, so I've learned a lot. Take it, pull a section, take it. That section was a little big. Pull it, take it, pull it. All right, so that was our first section of plucking, but I can go a little bit more. So honestly, you're just gonna keep doing that until the frontal's hairline pretty much mimics your own. Alright, so I'm pretty satisfied with this. Now we can get to customizing.
You're going to need a spray bottle of water, a brush and or comb, and then tweezers. Now I personally like to spray the frontal with some water before plucking because to me it makes the plucking process a lot easier. Now I'm going to go ahead and pull out the front hairs. I'm really going to show you guys a trick because I feel like people's frontals be looking so natural, but when they try to teach you how to make a lace frontal and customize it, they don't be wanting to tell you the true secret to a natural looking frontal, and that secret is making sure that you pull out some hair in the front and then kind of pluck behind that. And I don't mean just like directly behind those hairs that you pulled out in front. I mean like behind even the hairs behind that. I don't know if that makes sense. I really hope this visual is helping you guys. But basically, bottom line, you want hair to be in front of the area that you first initially start plucking. Otherwise, that's how you can bald a frontal very fast. And every once in a while, check to see how it is to make sure you're not over plucking or to see if you're under plucking. In this case, I was under plucking and I realized that I kind of needed to thin out that front piece that I initially pulled down. And that's okay. Don't pluck too much, but just kind of thinning it out to make it look a lot more natural. And the thing is too, I know that you can use different tweezers to either target plucking hair individually or plucking them in like groups. I use tweezers that pluck it in groups. But yeah, as you can see, there's a huge difference between when you customize it and when you don't. And same applies on the edges. I just did the front of the hair. Now I'm doing the side. Same thing applies. Pull out some hair in front and then pluck behind the part. Now once you've done this to both sides, your frontal should look really natural. And please remember, you rather under pluck than over pluck because you cannot put those hairs back, honey. Now on to phase 8. It's time to cut off that excess lace that's covering up your ears on both sides. So I just used my finger originally to kind of create a C shape, and then I reinforce it with my rat tail comb to make sure it's as even as possible so I'm not cutting off too much hair. Then I'm going to clip all the rest of the hair out the way and twist up that section that I plan on cutting off just so it doesn't get mixed up with the other hairs. And I make sure to do this on both sides before cutting. Now, as you can see, I've only sectioned off the lace and hair that covers my ear, and very carefully I'm going to go ahead and cut around that area, which is why I said make sure you are kind of twisting the hair off or putting all the other hair away so it doesn't get cut off when you're doing this step. I'm going to give you a better point of view in a second, but this is how it should look after you cut it off. So I'm going to do that to both sides, being very careful and cautious because you don't want to cut your ear, you don't want to cut your edges, you don't want to cut nothing, okay? Except for that lace and hair off. Now on to phase 9, you're going to need some foundation of your skin complexion, a makeup brush, and a flat surface to pour the foundation on and dip the brush into. Once you've done that, light-handedly sweep the foundation along the lace, making sure no lace is left behind. Now let it sit for 10 minutes, and after that, we're on to phase 10. in the final phase at that. It's time to cut that excess lace off. Now, be very careful with this step, and what I have learned that I will share with you guys, leaving a little bit of lace above where the hair starts helps with the application process substantially. So yeah, give yourself about 1 centimeter above the frontal's hairline and your wig application should be smooth. Now, if you followed all my instructions exactly, you should have a full lace frontal wig, slayed, laid, all that to the gods, hunty. By the way, for anyone interested, I use Lemoda Hair. I will leave the link to their website as well as the lymphs that I have in this hair in the description box below. But yeah, you guys, really hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you found it helpful. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe if you are new. And until next time, guys, bye.
Thank you.